You know, when you look at how companies compete these days, it really feels like the old playbooks. They've just been tossed out the window. What does having a competitive edge even mean anymore? It's like everything's shifted.
Oh, completely. The whole landscape of competition is being reshaped. And the big driver, it's artificial intelligence, plain and simple.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today, based on some great sources one of you sent over. We've got the book Competing in the Age of AI, a YouTube chat with the authors, Marco Iansiti and Karim Lakhani, plus some bits from the book itself. So our mission here, really, for you listening, is to pull out the absolute key stuff, how firms are actually operating, how they're competing now with AI in the mix. We want to get you the core understanding, without drowning you in details.
Yeah, it's a really good set of materials, different perspectives, but all pointing to this fundamental transformation. We're going to try and synthesize the most important bits so you get that clear picture.
Okay, let's dive in. The book starts with this interesting comparison. Photography disrupting painting. But then it makes a distinction with digital photography. What was the key difference there, competitively speaking?
Well, it's fascinating because, traditional film photography, it was a new way to capture images, sure, challenged painters artistically, but economically, its impact was mostly, contained within the photo industry itself. New cameras, film, developing.
Right, it didn't fundamentally change everything else around it in the same way.
Exactly. Digital photography, though, that unleashed something way bigger because suddenly photos weren't just images, they were data, digital files, instantly shareable, analyzable by computers, endlessly tweakable.
Ah, okay. So that shift to data was the crucial part.
Precisely. And that turned data into this incredibly potent competitive tool. I mean, think about Google Photos, Facebook, WeChat. The sheer volume of photo data they have is staggering.
And that data feeds back into making their AI better, right? Like recognizing faces or automatically making pictures look nicer. It's a cycle.
That's the core of it. More data, smarter AI, better services, which attracts more users and therefore more data. It feeds itself.
Okay.
And this is really the bedrock of what the authors call digital operating models. It's not just about using some digital tools here and there. It's a completely new way of structuring and running the business to really milk the value from that data in AI.
A new operating model. What makes it so different?
Well, they highlight three key things: scale, scope, and learning. The potential for massive scale, offering a broad scope of services, and this capability for continuous learning.
Scale, scope, learning. Okay, let's break those down a bit. Scale. That's about growing huge without the usual physical limits or needing tons more people for every new customer.
Spot on. A digital model can push out a new software feature to millions almost instantly at nearly zero marginal cost per user. Think how fast apps can go global.
Makes sense. And scope. That's offering lots of different things, maybe using the same underlying tech and data.
Exactly right. Because these systems are often built modularly, it's easier to bolt on new features or jump into related markets. Start with rides, add food delivery, add scooters, all on the same platform, more or less.
Okay. And the learning part. That's the AI getting smarter all the time from the data it's processing.
Yes, and crucially, learning at a speed and a magnitude that humans just can't match through traditional improvement cycles. So you put scale, scope, and this rapid learning together.
And that's how these digital native companies grow so fast and start bumping up against the established players.
Precisely. They collide with traditional companies still stuck in older operating models.
Amazon feels like the poster child for this. Started with books online, but used that digital model to disrupt, almost everything. Retail, cloud computing with AWS.
Amazon is a perfect example. Their AI engines, whether it's the recommendations nudging you towards a product or the smarts inside Alexa, they're constantly learning. Millions of interactions feeding back in, scaling up without human bottlenecks. What they learn about your book habits informs what electronics they show you.
And it just keeps going, right? Every click, every buy, every Alexa play makes the system a tiny bit smarter.
It's relentless. And contrast that with, say, traditional retail. Someone like Walmart is investing heavily now, putting cameras, sensors, AI in stores to try and understand customer behavior inside the physical space.
They're trying to capture that same kind of rich data that the online guys have had all along, bridging the physical-digital gap.
That's the goal. And then you've got things like Amazon Go stores, completely checkout free.
Yeah, that still feels wild.
It's a fully digital retail experience, end-to-end, supply chain, inventory, payment, Removes all those traditional bottlenecks. You just grab and go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. The book also talks a lot about Ant Financial. Now, Ant Group, starting from Alipay. Another huge disruption, this time in finance.
Yeah, Ant's story is remarkable. Started simply as an escrow service for Alibaba, just building trust for online shopping, purely functional.
But it didn't stay just within Alibaba, did it?
No, that was key. It expanded beyond the marketplace.
Oh,
And then
wow.
things like Yui Bao came along.
Right, letting people earn interest on tiny amounts in their Alipay accounts. That was huge, wasn't it?
Massive. It basically democratized basic financial services via mobile phone. No minimums. Led to incredible growth. And think about their model. Billions of transactions daily, way cheaper than traditional banks, no physical branches needed.
And super data-driven, too, I assume, not just transaction data.
Oh, absolutely. They pull in transactional data, public records, partner data, all sorts of things feed into services like their JIMA credit scores.
They're building credit profiles from much more than just loan repayment history.
Exactly. Their AI is constantly finding patterns, assessing risk in real time based on this huge variety of data points. Every interaction counts.
It really drives home how these digital models bypass human limits and change the whole structure of the firm. The book mentions modularity, like building with Legos.
That's a great way to put it because it's software-based with standard connections, APIs. Different parts can talk to each other easily. And connecting with external partners becomes much simpler, too. Very flexible.
Now, it's not just the tech giants doing this, right? The book uses Peloton as an example in fitness.
Yeah, Peloton's a great case. They took a traditional service exercise classes and digitized it. They added huge value with all the digital content, the classes on demand, and made it super scalable through subscriptions.
Right, the instructors are obviously important, but the digital platform delivers that experience to potentially millions.
Exactly. Their scale isn't limited by studio space or how many classes one person can teach physically. The digital service delivers it.
It's that blend of the physical bike or tread and the immersive digital classes.
And then there's Ocado, the online grocer in the UK.
Ah, yes, the robot warehouses.
That's them. AI is running the show there, optimizing delivery routes, managing the incredibly complex robot grids in the warehouses, ensuring food freshness. They're doing like millions of routing calculations constantly.
And for them, too, it's that continuous learning idea, right? Tweaking algorithms, improving efficiency all the time.
Absolutely. Perpetual learning and adaptation. They really emphasize experimenting, visualizing data, running trials, making changes. It's iterative.
Even a company like Google, already born digital, made that big strategic shift, declaring themselves AI first. What did that really signal?
It was a huge statement. Even though data and software were always their thing, AI first meant embedding AI much more deeply across everything. Search, assistant, their cloud services, their internal infrastructure.
Making AI absolutely central, not just another tool.
Precisely. Highlighting how critical data and analytics were to their future. And then you look at Netflix, they were early users of data, weren't they?
Yeah, famously with their recommendation engine, even back in the DVD days.
Right, and they just kept refining it.
Yeah.
Using data not just for recommendations, but for personalizing the whole streaming experience, figuring out viewer tastes with incredible granularity.
Creating those microclusters of users with similar niche tastes.
Exactly. And even using data to decide what original shows and movies to greenlight.
Okay, so all these examples, they lead to this concept the book calls the AI factory. What's that about?
It's basically a framework for how these AI-driven companies work internally. It has 3 core components. You need the AI algorithms themselves, obviously.
The model's doing the work.
Yep. Then you need the data pipeline, the whole system for getting, cleaning, and feeding the massive amounts of data those algorithms need.
Garbage in, garbage out, right? So the pipeline's crucial.
Hugely. And the third piece is the underlying infrastructure. The computing power, the networks, the software environment to run it all.
Algorithms, data pipeline infrastructure.
Yeah.
Got it. And the algorithms themselves. The book mentions supervised, unsupervised reinforcement learning. Can you give us the quick version?
Sure. Supervised learning is like teaching by example. You show the AI lots of labeled data. This email is spam. This one isn't, and it learns the patterns.
Okay, like spam filters.
Exactly. Unsupervised learning is more about finding hidden structures in data where you don't have labels, like Netflix discovering groups of viewers with similar tastes without being told what those tastes are beforehand.
Finding patterns on its own.
Right. And reinforcement learning is learning by doing, through trial and error. An AI agent tries things, gets rewards or penalties, and figures out the best strategy over time, like learning to play a game.
Okay, clear examples. And the book talks about experimentation platforms like Google and Netflix use. Why are those so important?
Because you can't just assume your new AI tweak is better. You need to test it rigorously at scale. These platforms let them run thousands of A/B tests, controlled trials, to see what actually moves the needle on user behavior or business goals.
Data-driven decisions about the AI itself.
You got it. And underpinning all of this is that robust, scalable infrastructure we mentioned.
Needs to be reliable, powerful,
Yeah.
often cloud-based now, right?
Absolutely. Handling huge data volumes, complex calculations on demand, the cloud is almost essential for most companies doing serious AI.
There was that interesting example, too, the lung cancer mapping contest. What was the takeaway there?
Oh, yeah, that was striking. They released CT scans and challenged data scientists, many with zero medical background, to build algorithms to spot tumors. And these non-experts created incredibly effective AI tools for this specialized medical task, just by having access to good data and the right tools.
Wow. Shows the power of the data and the algorithms, even without the domain expertise sometimes.
It really does. And all this points to a bigger idea. Companies really need to re-architect themselves to make the most of AI.
Meaning you can't just bolt AI onto the old way of doing things.
Exactly. The book argues you need a new operating architecture, one that's integrated, data-centric, built around platforms, not the old silos.
And Amazon's big internal shift, the Bezos API mandate, is highlighted as key for them. What was that?
Right. Bezos apparently mandated that all internal teams had to expose their data and functions through standardized APIs, these common digital connection points.
Forcing them to connect everything up.
Pretty much. It forced them to rebuild their systems as a collection of interconnected services, a software platform, not just separate chunks of IT. It was fundamental to their agility and scale later on.
A huge internal replumbing job.
Definitely. And Microsoft's transformation under Satya Nadella is another big example, shifting to cloud and AI, reorganizing engineering, making AI tools accessible via Azure.
And it's not just tech changes, is it? The book stresses organizational and cultural shifts, too.
Absolutely critical. Breaking down silos, getting different teams, tech, business, data science, working together much more closely, adopting faster, more iterative ways of working. It's a people and process change as much as a tech one.
And with AI becoming so central, governance becomes a big issue, too, right? Ethics, privacy.
Hugely important. As these systems scale, you face challenges like digital amplification, spreading misinformation, fast algorithmic bias creeping in through data selection or labeling.
Yeah, the bias issue seems really tricky.
It is, plus the obvious concerns around data security and user privacy. When you're collecting and using so much information, it demands really clear, thoughtful, cross-functional governance.
The book even mentioned that AI created Rembrandt painting, didn't it? And how the art world reacted.
Yeah, that sparked a big debate. Is it art? Who's the artist? It highlights the ethical and philosophical questions AI raises, even in creative fields.
So, wrapping this part up for our listener, the age of AI isn't just adding a new tool. It's forcing a fundamental rethink of how businesses create value, how they operate, how they compete. It demands these new digital operating models harnessing data, AI platforms for that scale, scope, and learning. And often it requires deep, difficult changes to the organization itself, re-architecting the core. That definitely has implications for how you need to view competition in, well, pretty much any field now.
Yeah. Absolutely. This deep dive really underscores that shift to digital operating models.
Yeah.
The sheer power of data and AI when properly harnessed, and why that re-architecting piece is often non-negotiable for long-term success.
Right.
And we touched on those emerging ethical challenges too, which can't be ignored.
So hopefully this gives you a solid framework for thinking about the sources you sent us and maybe how these forces are playing out in your own area of interest.
Yeah, definitely think about, how does this apply to my industry? What does this AI-driven competition look like here? Where are the opportunities, the threats?
It's a continuous evolution, isn't it? AI isn't standing still. Digital tech keeps advancing. So understanding these shifts, adapting, it's an ongoing process for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. The learning never really stops in the age of AI. This deep dive continues.